Hi there, Joey Yee here, and welcome to the first official episode of SF Ranked. Now, this is going to be a series where I take iconic SF things and rank them based on basically however I'm feeling at the time. And what we're trying to do here is find the best of the best in the city. Now, you probably won't agree with all of them. That's kind of the point. So these will be the 15 essential San Francisco landmarks that you should visit. And also, if you guys want to suggest a category for the next video, just make sure to leave it in the comments below. I'll try to get to them. I know I have a bunch of stuff in the pipeline coming up. I'm sweating like hell. Let's go. So number 15 is the Golden Gate Bridge. What? Yeah, you're probably wondering why it's so low on this list. I mean, 15 out of, a couple hundred is not bad, but there are many reasons why it's not even higher. So apparently, due to things that are outside of my control, I am unable to place it any higher than 15th. But I mean, to be honest, I think this is just one of those things that's obligatory at this point. You can't have a best of anything list without putting the Golden Gate Bridge on it. So here it is. But as for the landmark itself, I mean, the bridge is pretty awesome. Like, structurally speaking, it's one of the greatest man-made wonders of all time. It's iconic. You got that international orange color that really pops against the green and blue background. It's on postcards. It's essentially SF's logo. It's destroyed in pretty much every single movie it's ever been in. And it's hella big, so just what I'm looking for in a landmark. So coming in at number 14 is the Painted Ladies. And okay, I had to put this one on this list, not because I'm obligated to as someone who makes videos about San Francisco, but because San Francisco is not complete without a visit to these lovely painted ladies featured in films such as the intro to Full House. But honestly, they're fine. I think they get the attention that they do because they're in a spot that highlights the rest of the city, not necessarily themselves. But I guess because the city needs a way to represent the types of homes that are built in San Francisco, these ladies get the job done. You can go over there, take some pictures of the painted ladies, then head over to Eddie's Cafe. Really good grits. So number 13 on this list is Lombard Street, and honestly, this one almost didn't make it, and I'll tell you why. Lombard really is complicated. On the one hand, it looks great. The twisty road makes for a really great photo op. It's pretty iconic. You got wonderful views from the top of the entire bay. But that's kind of where the fun stops for me. I guess it's because in the recent years, there have been huge lines just to drive down the street. Both cars and pedestrians have been known to block traffic in order to just get a photo for their Instagram. And that really makes it a nightmare for the people that live there. Again, just like the painted ladies, people live on Lombard Street, on that hill. And it's also not even the crookedest street in the world, let alone the city. That title belongs to Vermont Street over in Potrero Hill. So simply put, Lombard Street is a lie. Moving on, number 12 is Alcatraz, and it's been a while since I visited this former prison, but in my opinion, it's still a good place to go to. Aesthetically, it's a pretty wonderful landmark. It fills in some necessary empty space in the bay. It gives some streets some wonderful sightlines when you look down the road. So imagine you're the road and you're looking down towards the bay, and my head is Alcatraz. It's kind of like that. But as far as what you can actually do there, I would say there's not a whole lot. Yes, it's a great historical site. You can learn a bunch of stuff about what happened, the people that escaped and all that. But personally, I've been hoping that someday they'll turn it into an amusement park. I mean, isn't that what San Francisco really needs? Just put a roller coaster on the roof, call it The Great Escape or something, sell some t-shirts, mugs, keychains. You'll make a lot of money. Let's do it. So number 11 is Oracle Park. And as a big baseball fan, I would love to put this one higher, but the powers that be kind of prevent me from doing so. So Oracle Park, formerly known as AT&T Park, formerly known as SBC Park, formerly known as Pac Bell Park, hasn't really been around that long. It's only been 20 years since it was built, but I do have to give it credit just because it is beautiful. It's arguably one of the most beautiful ballparks in the country. You got some great views of the Bay Bridge, you got a Coke bottle, you got some cable cars, you got the water. But honestly, that just means it's more beautiful looking out from it, not necessarily at it. So as a landmark, I would say it's pretty good, but not quite top tier. So I guess number 11. Okay, we're here at number 10 with the Ferry Building. And this is yet again another iconic postcard-worthy building. The famous clock tower can be seen all the way down Market Street, but you have to remember that it wasn't always like that, because before the 1989 earthquake, the view was actually obstructed by the Embarcadero Freeway. Some big, ugly concrete slabs were just blocking it for whatever reason. So I guess you can say we have a disaster to thank for our lovely view of the Ferry Building. As far as the inside of the building goes, I would say the Ferry Building is a great place to visit. You got delicious food, you got good coffee, you got some nice charm because the ferry actually still operates. So yeah, really nothing too outstanding, but simple and cute. Number 10, yeah. Okay, and oh shit. So I guess I put 2 number 10s on here. So the other number 10 is Coit Tower. This landmark, everyone kind of knows about the rumor that the building was shaped like a fire hose. That's not true. But what is true is that Coit Tower sits atop Telegraph Hill, making it kind of a fun place to go and visit. That is, if fun to you is walking up 400 steps at an incredibly steep incline. It's not really obnoxious. It's not really overrun by tourists pushing and shoving to get a photo. You don't really see that. And it's kind of isolated from the hustle and bustle of the rest of the city. Oh, and my favorite thing about this is that it's one of the first landmarks that you see when you re-enter the city coming back from the East Bay. When you come back into the city on the Bay Bridge, the first thing that you see is Coit Tower. My only gripe, okay, I would say that Coit Tower just needs to be more fun. Yeah, if we're gonna put a roller coaster on Alcatraz, why not put some like fire hoses on top of Coit Tower, you know, just to play into the whole rumor. You know, you can spray it from the top of the building and down to the pupil. It'll be fun, trust me. So number 9 is going to be 2 landmarks, actually. I guess this list is going to be 17 instead of 15. But number 9 are the Cliff House and Sutro Baths. And if you see my previous videos, you know how much I like these places. So you got Cliff House, which has a great restaurant and one of the coolest lookout spots in the city. It also has the camera obscura, which is one of the most unique ways of viewing the surrounding areas. And the Sutro Baths are a great spot for just exploring old ruins, you know? You can get your Urbex adventure hat on and go for a hike. But hold on there, Joey. You made a video about this. You like these places. Why aren't they higher on the list? So that is a very good question, and I'll tell you why. First off, you got the Musée Mécanique, or you don't got it anymore. That old museum that used to have those mechanical games and dioramas that were over like a century old is no longer there. They moved it to Fisherman's Wharf, but it was always my favorite place to go when I visited the Cliff House. And the other reason why these aren't higher on the list is the fact that they just keep burning down. Cliff House was built and rebuilt about 4 times in its history, and twice because it burned down and caught fire. The Sutro Baths were also destroyed thanks to a fire. And I mean, the current Cliff House is still standing, but fingers crossed it sticks around. Okay, number 8, we are halfway there. So this one is a good one, and it's the Japantown Peace Pagoda. I don't think this comes up on many people's top SF landmarks lists because it's not really a major attraction on its own. When you go visit it, you also go see the rest of Japantown as well. But I would say it's a great structure. It's about 100 feet tall. It's made of concrete, copper, bronze. But the reason why it's on this list is not because of how it looks. So as the story goes, post-World War II, peace treaties were signed between the United States and Japan, so in the 60s, they decided to build this Peace Pagoda as a gesture of friendship between the American and US governments. So yeah, I think that's worthy to have this on this list because it's the only landmark here that was built out of kindness. Okay, number 7 is the Transamerica Pyramid. Like I always say, I love tall things. Not just because I am also tall, but because I appreciate the engineering and the effort that goes into making these huge structures. This building basically defined the city's skyline for about 50 years. At 853 feet tall, it was the tallest building in San Francisco, and also holds the world record for the world's skinniest pyramid. That's not true. But I mean, just look at it. You're not going to find a skinnier pyramid, right? They should just make a record for that. There's nothing else in the world quite like it. Okay, there are real pyramids, yes, I know that, but there's no other fake pyramid buildings that are as iconic. Yeah, you got the Luxor Hotel in Vegas and Nicolas Cage's New Orleans Crypt, but there aren't a whole lot of significant pyramid-shaped buildings of this size and stature. So yeah, I would say it checks all the boxes for me. One box, just saying it has to be tall. Alright, number 6 is Mission Dolores. Now, Mission Dolores is the oldest building in San Francisco. It was built in 1776, holy crap, right around the time that the US became a country. And if you've never seen it before, you actually might miss it. You might see the taller secondary building next to it and think that's it, but no, that's not. That one was actually built in 1918. So why is it so high on this list? I would say it's mostly the longevity. It's because of that longevity that you see this great importance placed on this building, even early on. If you want to know how important this building was, when the 1906 earthquake happened and the fires started spreading everywhere in the city, they blew up buildings around Mission Dolores so that it wouldn't burn down. Yeah, I know that was mostly because the water mains were severed during the earthquake and they couldn't really fight fires with anything other than sewage, so they had to start blowing up buildings to prevent the spread of fires. But holy crap, like nobody does that anymore. Even now, as we try to put out metaphorical fires all over the city, this place still remains. Okay, we're getting to the cream of the crop here, and number 5 is the Castro Theatre. According to the official SF designated landmarks list, the Castro Theatre is number 100. 100? 100. Just as a side note though, the Golden Gate Bridge is number 222 on that list. Take that. So the Castro Theatre is arguably one of the most beautiful theaters and most famous theaters in the city, maybe the state, maybe the country, and it's a gateway to one of the most vibrant neighborhoods in San Francisco. If you've ever been inside, you know that it's enormous, it's incredibly ornate and detailed. The ceilings and walls have these little intricate little moldings. Every single corner is just thought about and cared about. They even have a Wurlitzer organ that plays during shows, and as much as I love the Balboa Theater, the Castro just feels more iconic, and maybe that's because of its central location, maybe it's because they use it for premieres and special screenings, and it has all this history behind it. But to me, the Castro is kind of like a star that continues to shine in this darkening galaxy that is the independent movie theater industry. Number 4 is Sutro Tower. So way atop Twin Peaks, well, not on Twin Peaks, but kind of close to it, is Sutro Tower. And this place is kind of like San Francisco's North Star. Now, it is the tallest point anywhere in the city. The tower itself is about 1,000 feet tall and it's boosted about 800 feet additionally by the mountain that it sits on. You could be in the Presidio, you can be in the Richmond, you could be downtown. You can see it. But the real question on everyone's mind when you talk about Sutro Tower is it ugly? I mean, it's not the prettiest tower in the world, but it does grow on you. I would say that because you can see it all the time, it kind of turns into this little comforting fork that guides you home. Yeah. Forks are cool. All right, number 3 on this list of the most essential SF landmarks is the Palace of Fine Arts and its surrounding area. Now, I've mentioned this before, but even though the Palace of Fine Arts is a wonderful building, it's just a drop in the bucket of what used to be here. The 1915 World's Fair actually brought an entire mini city to San Francisco's Marina District, and some huge structures were actually built in record time because a lot of them were constructed from shoddy materials like plaster and burlap and other things that you can punch a hole through. They actually did this so that they could tear everything down quickly once the fair ended, but the Palace of Fine Arts actually remained. They decided they wanted to keep it. And decades later, it was reconstructed into a real solid piece of work. And it is striking. It's dramatic. If you've ever seen the underside of the dome, you'll know what I'm talking about. All the intricate Greek and Roman inspired column design, and when it reflects off the water on a clear day, it's just... But honestly, it's a beautiful spot to visit any day. It could be clear, it could be foggy, it could be rainy, it could have acid rain. You could take a date here the day the world ends. It doesn't matter because it's worth it. So number 2 is the Conservatory of Flowers, and this one is special. There's several reasons why I rank this one so high. One of them being that it's obviously beautiful. You got that all white dome that just kind of sparkles in the sunlight. And it's a miraculous feat of engineering as well. It's one of the only greenhouses in the United States, I think in the world, that's entirely made out of wood. This place is beautiful, and that's really all it takes to convince people. This is a landmark that knows it's a tourist attraction. Obviously, you pay money to go into the conservatory, but it knows it's a tourist attraction, but it doesn't feel like it. Unlike Alcatraz or Fisherman's Wharf or any place that you have to pay to get into, this place feels different. So this is it. This is what you've all been waiting for. The number 1 spot on the 15 essential SF landmarks list that I made in 2020. And number 1 is the Doggie Diner Head. Okay, so if you want a little bit of history, Doggie Diner was this fast food chain that opened up in the 40s to try and compete with, Burger King, McDonald's. Basically, every single restaurant had this giant 7-foot head of a dachshund wearing a bow tie and a hat. Long story short, they went out of business in the 80s and they closed all the restaurants, but they kept some of those Doggie Diner heads. The one that hangs up in the city is on Sloat, right next to the zoo. So I put this at number 1 on my list, and I feel it's because it represents the hardiness of San Francisco. To me, by them hanging it in the middle of the street, it will forever serve as a reminder that you can shut down businesses, you can close their doors, but they'll always be there. The Doggie Diner head is a symbol of resilience more than anything else, and as crazy as it sounds, I think this is the only SF landmark that truly makes me feel proud to be San Franciscan. So that is my top 15 most essential SF landmarks in San Francisco. If you don't agree with anything I said, that's okay. That's what the comments are for. Leave a comment down below. Also hit like, subscribe, notification bell down there. All the good stuff that you do at the end of a video. But really, thank you guys so much for watching this and for supporting the channel. Because I really want to do more videos like this one. I want to get people, giving me suggestions for topics that I should do in my next video. I want to get more involvement with, you guys, with the community. So yeah, leave your suggestions for what I should do on the next SF Ranked, and I will see you guys at the next spot.